All rise.
Welcome to the Cyber Law and Business Report. Get the top story on the hot button internet legal topics of the day. This is your home for the latest on internet law and policy. Hear the latest net trends impacting business and have your questions answered right here. This is the Cyber Law and Business Report. Now, please welcome your host, the founder of the Internet Law Center, Bennett Kelly.
Good morning. This is Bennett Kelly. I'm broadcasting live from Santa Monica, California at the Internet Law Center. And we got a real good show for you today. We're going to cover a number of very important items. The first is we're going to start off with Rebecca Madigan, our great friend, who has won a major victory in the Illinois Supreme Court and actually may be setting up a battle at the Supreme Court over the Amazon tax. In the second segment, we actually are speaking with a remarkable young woman, a woman by the name of Viviana Vasu, who has taken upon herself at Stetson University to set up an advocacy group to fight cyberbullying. As you know, there's a lot of controversy in Florida over that. The latest case of cyberbullying that's gone on there, and Stetson University actually had a case as well last year. And here's a remarkable young woman who's taken upon herself to try to do something about it. And we're going to talk to her and talk about her efforts. And then the last brief segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming World Series. The Boston Red Sox are hosting the St. Louis Cardinals. A few insights you probably won't hear on other shows about that. And so we got a really big show. Just as a day of remembrance, this is a day of both great triumph and great tragedy. Today was the start of the Battle of Lafayette, which was the largest naval battle in the history of the world, definitely in the history of the World War II. And ultimately, the Imperial Navy was unable to hold off the Allies and led to ultimately the downfall. By the time the battle was over, the Imperial Navy had less planes than the U.S. had ships because they tried to do kamikaze warfare. And today is also a day of several tragedies. One is it was the launch of the Hungarian uprising, where they heroically fought and took over large parts of Hungary, and they actually thought they had reclaimed their country from Soviet domination, only to be so brutally crushed. And today is also the anniversary of the Beirut bombing in 1983. It was the single largest day of Marine casualties since World War II, and a great tragedy. And so all those who have family members in that, our prayers go out to you. But we have with us the triumphant plaintiff from Illinois. I can't think of any alliteration to go that goes with Springfield. But in any event, Rebecca from the Performance Marketing Association, who they were the plaintiffs in Illinois, and they won round one and now have won round two.
Yes, yay! I really like that triumphant plaintiff. I'm going to have a T-shirt made.
So maybe you can see if you get a Hello Kitty just for PMA.
That's right.
I met this Japanese rock star, and apparently, they designed a special Hello Kitty for him. So who knows? But so you went to Springfield, and you got more than a lousy T-shirt.
I did. What's funny is as we arrived and our plane landed, there happened to be a group of local citizens waiting for about 500 local citizens waiting for another plane full of veterans coming to visit the state capitol. So there was a parade and cheering. It turned out it wasn't actually for us. They thought we were the veterans and we weren't. But that was kind of a good omen because the very next day we presented our oral arguments, and our brilliant litigator, George Isaacson, did a masterful job in presenting in front of the Illinois Supreme Court, and just whipped the butts of the state of Illinois. and it worked. And the Supreme Court upheld our earlier lower court victory. So the Illinois affiliate nexus tax is invalid, null and void, and we are very pleased to be able to report that a lot of advertisers are now reinstating their affiliate programs in Illinois. So about 9,000 affiliate marketers that were devastated when the law passed in 2010. We hope they can return to the state and get their businesses back up and running.
No, it's an interesting ruling because they could have gone two ways. There's one argument that that have been made repeatedly is that the Amazon tax is unconstitutional. It's a direct, it's contradictory to Quill, the Supreme Court case that deals with this, and so that's the easy answer. But instead, they went the other route and they said that it was preempted by a federal law that is rarely cited.
Yes, this is actually the first case that has ever upheld the Internet Tax Freedom Act, which was passed to make sure that special taxes weren't levied on the Internet. And it's kind of interesting thinking back when we were developing the case, that was a last-minute addition. We were, one of our close allies who helped us fight and lobby against this bill in Illinois was the head of tax policy at the time for Google, a gentleman by the name of David Lieber. And he was the one that brought up thinking, I think this violates the ITFA. And so we decided to add it as a count in our case. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The law has been made invalid. The constitutionality would be important, I think, when if this comes up in other states, that we have an opportunity to litigate again. But I think this still proves that the law is invalid. I think just simply never. I think they kind of took the easy way out, and this was such an obvious violation of the ITFA in their minds, so they didn't have to deal with the constitutionality.
In all fairness, to the court, courts are supposed to resolve things by non-constitutional means, if possible. Mm-hmm. What a constitutional question, preemption, but they frame it quite well. I mean, this is a quote you can use in every brief. In short, under the Act, performance marketing over the Internet provides the basis for imposing a use tax collection obligation on an out-of-state retailer when a threshold of 10,000 in sales through the clickable link is reached. However, national or international performance marketing by an out-of-state retailer which appears in print or on over-the-air broadcast in Illinois will not trigger an Illinois use tax collection obligation. The relevant provisions of the Act therefore impose discriminatory tax on electronic commerce. Bingo.
Exactly, and that's kind of an argument that we have been saying all along in our lobbying efforts, but it's sometimes difficult for people to understand that it's simply this type of advertising model that was targeted in this case, and other types of advertising models haven't been targeted. So it was very much discriminatory, and so we believe, and we've heard some rumblings back from Amazon and Overstock. They have filed a petition with the U.S. Supreme Court to appeal a different decision that New York came to, that they want to update their petitions with this victory. And that's kind of an important thing, too, not only to reinforce their cases and their arguments, but now we have two states that have come to different conclusions. New York found that the law was valid, and Illinois found that the law was invalid. So we think that will strengthen the case for the Supreme Court to actually pick up the case.
And yes, I mean, usually one criteria the Supreme Court has for taking cases, and by the way, the Supreme Court chooses the cases it takes. It doesn't take all cases. And, one of the criteria is there a conflict that needs to be resolved? But here, one option for the court is to actually remand the New York case with instructions to follow Illinois.
Well, wouldn't that be great? That would solve the problem in a more straightforward way, right?
Exactly.
But
although I think,
there are the devil's in the details. So
yes.
the Illinois law has language that is slightly different from the New York law. So the New York law says if a nexus is established, if a consumer clicks on a link or other means. And Illinois says exclusively it's a web link that the consumer clicks through on. So that narrow definition that actually was exactly what was ruled on. And it was also the thing that gave my organization as a trade association standing to bring the case, but in those more flexible terms that other states have modeled after New York, we don't have standing in that case. So I kind of doubt that New York would be remanded, to do that, but we'll see.
And so what is the next? I imagine the state will appeal.
Illinois?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard rumbling too. They've been pretty vocal in the press about that, and that's kind of scaring the bejeebies out of me right now, because it was really hard to raise money for a little case in Illinois, and I don't even know what it would look like at the Supreme Court level. So I'm really hoping that the court picks up Amazon and Overstock's case, so we'll see what happens there. With the Supreme Court, like you said, they take up very few cases. The numbers I've heard is they get 10,000 petitions a year, and they hear about 100 cases. Today is the deadline for New York to submit its response to the petition. So we're waiting to read that. I'll be interested to see what they say. So we're just, I think it's just a wait and see, and they've started to fill the calendar up already. So if this
would be a spring argument, or maybe later.
Yes.
Well, maybe lucky you'd be right in the summer. You know how nice and cool Washington is that time of year.
I spent 2012, the summer up from May to September, almost every week in Washington, lobbying in support of the Marketplace Fairness Act. It is a drippy, wet rag. It is humid.
And it's too bad you weren't there the year before when the Nationals were at least making the playoffs. But so it's going to be interesting. I think the deadline for responding for New York is today. Is there a reply that he gets a reply to the New York petition, the New York filing?
I don't know, actually. I wonder that. I'm not familiar with that.
I would suspect there is. So there could be. I have to confirm that. So it could be another month or so before we know whether this is going to be heard. Obviously, this puts it on the radar screen much quicker.
Yes. So we've gotten a lot of press. In all the main papers in the sort of political rags within the Beltway too. So I'm hoping it gets picked up by at least the justices reading about it, and further, encouraging them to pick it up.
Now, shifting gears is just briefly, in terms of the Marketplace Fairness Act, in light of the extreme level of comity and friendship that has prevailed on Capitol Hill over the last few weeks, do you have any sense of hope that this will actually see the light of day in the House this year?
I really got my heart broken because I thought for sure it was going to pass in 2012, and here we are. And so the updates that I had received a couple of weeks ago from some of the staffers that are working on this, that it's much like many things. There appears to be enough votes in the House to get this passed. There's plenty of support, but it hasn't even made it through the committee process yet. So there are a lot of co-sponsors. The House Judiciary Committee still holds the bill, or some sort of semblance of language that could be formed into a bill. They've issued some sets of criteria that they want to meet, that they want this bill to meet, but we haven't seen any final assigned bill yet, and it's really about whether or not the House what's the stomach for bringing bills to the floor, because I think this is something that is frankly quite non-controversial, and we have a tremendous amount of bipartisan support. So if there's anything that they think they could get through without some sort of major smackdown, this could be it, but who knows if that's what they want.
Right. I thought that the Speaker was lukewarm, if not opposed to it.
He has been very noncommittal, but last year, Eric Campbell came out in support of it, and even Paul Ryan came out in support of it. So,
what about Goodlatte? I thought Goodlatte was had problems with it. Goodlatte being, is he the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, I believe?
Yes, he is. He's the chair of the Judiciary Committee, and he's one that asked for this set of criteria to be met and sort of a mission statement. So he is not killing it, but he's putting pressure back on the many co-sponsors to create something that solves many of the concerns in his mind, which are, of course, the devil's in the details. So there's this. I think the main issue is this. What level of revenue or sales that's fine, and the brick and mortar retailers are pushing. They don't. Person has just a few $1 million sales. They don't get exempted, so they don't want their internet competitors to be exempted too. So I think that's really debate.
And Goodlatte, not only is he Judiciary Committee chairman, but he's the chair of the House Internet Caucus. So he's very influential. This is, falling into his bailiwick in two different, ways. And so I think they're really going to be following his lead. And but we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Rebecca Madigan about what comes next on the Amazon Tax. You're listening to Cyber Law and Business Report.
Stay tuned for more of the Cyber Law and Business Report after this brief recess for our sponsors.
And events.
There are many things we would love to catch. Catching the final out of a baseball game.
And that's the ball game.
Reeling that big catch of the day. Or catching a ride home.
Taxi.
How about catching more attention like the biggest retail brands on earth? Introducing Catchy.com, where they sell short-branded attractive.com domain names. Use a short and catchy brand, just like Sony, Visa, and Nike for your next business venture. You can even rent to own for as low as $100 a month. Catch a big break for your business with Catchy.com.
I'm John Ball, and I'm one of the founders of Page One Power. Page One Power is a custom link building firm based in Boise, Idaho. We increase search rankings and web traffic for world-class brands and mom-and-pop shops all around the globe. Our link building strategies work because we focus on relevancy and quality, and we don't outsource anything. Our in-house staff of professional writers and researchers is the best in the industry. We're the link builders you've been looking for. Visit us today at pageonepower.com.
Guys, are you suffering from FD, fulfillment dysfunction? Let moldingbox.com's online portal system for inventory, tracking, and returns perform for you. We have the enormous tools you need for complete warehousing, shipping, and handling of all your packages, no matter the size or shape, directly to your customers. Moldingbox.com can also fulfill all your nourishing, nutraceutical, and smooth skincare product desires, including green coffee and Garcinia on demand. Plus, let our in-house printing and CD, DVD manufacturing help you enlarge and maximize your coaching and business opportunity potential. We do everything: fulfillment, shipping, tracking, inside and out, and all in one place. Moldingbox.com. It's shipping made sexy. Come visit us at AdTech New York, booth number 738.
Life tips. Making your life smarter, better, faster, wiser. On demand anytime inside the entertainment channel, only on webmasterradio.fm.
The best gavel-to-gavel legal news and information on the net is right here. This is the Cyber Law and Business Report, only on webmasterradio.fm.
And we're back. We're talking with Rebecca Madigan, who has come back on the Victory Express from Springfield, Illinois. And still couldn't do the alliteration. Sorry, Rebecca.
Springfield, I know, it's just not, doesn't just roll off your tongue. It's not poetic.
But obviously the land of Lincoln was good to you. And so in terms of other initiatives you have going, before we move on to our next segment, anything else that you want to let the listeners know about?
Well, actually, we hope that this activity in the Supreme Court and the recent victory that we had in Illinois forces other states to pause and reconsider moving forward with any sort of copycat laws. We're not interested in litigating around the country, but if that's the only way to fight this, we're going to have to do that. We need this to stop. There are 90,000 small businesses wiped out by the 13 states that passed these laws. And so it's critical to our industry that this gets reversed. And so the two areas we're holding hope on are the Supreme Court and Congress, the Marketplace Fairness Act. So that's what we're waiting on now.
Now, one area it's more of symbolic value than anything. The second state to adopt the tax was Rhode Island. And
yes.
All the major players pulled out, and so the tax actually had a net negative effect on revenue for the state. And I know there was talk of repealing it in Rhode Island, which obviously would have a certain symbolic meaning. And what is the status of that?
We lost the sponsor for that because he did not run for office again. So there are a couple of states we think we could get a repeal. One is North Carolina. One is Connecticut. Connecticut copied the Illinois statute. We are constrained by resources. We would have to hire lobbyists in the state to help, craft language and encourage the repeals. And we just have had put all our resources in Illinois and in Congress and in the Supreme Court effort. So if we can raise enough money, then perhaps next year we would be able to start a repeal process. But if obviously if the Supreme Court picks this up, then we want to wait and see what happens there. I think everybody will want to wait and see.
Does the Supreme Court effort also freeze maybe Congress? Because why waste political capital when it could be resolved?
Yes and no. All the Supreme. That's interesting to wait and see what happens. I'm curious. That was my first thought too. However, all the Supreme Court ruling would do is say that states cannot pass these laws on their own. It does nothing to help brick and mortar retailers, and it does nothing to help a national effort to force internet retailers.
Right.
So, I think I would guess if they picked it up and they actually ruled that the state laws were unconstitutional, there would still probably be the same language that they said with Quill, which is any change to interstate commerce must come from Congress.
Right.
So, if Congress can get its act together, then there's a great parallel effort going on for shifting retail. States have to abandon their efforts, and federal legislation overtakes it.
Now, Rebecca, if people want to help out in your effort, is there should they join the membership, or is there do you do fundraising? What's the best way for people to help you out?
Both are great. We have a website, thepma.org, P as in performance, M as in marketing, A as in association, thepma.org. And we would welcome contributions which could be made on the website. But really, membership is so important to us because that gives us a voice. We have other issues that we are facing, such as the FTC looking at tightening its regulations on internet advertising practices, and we certainly need to be a part of that effort. And we have some standards development underway, and what we are known for in Washington and around the country is our strong grassroots effort. And so if we need to continue to build up our membership to really be able to have a force. So if you're in e-commerce, if you're involved in advertising, and if you're involved in sales tax, we desperately need your membership. So that will go a long way to help. We have a lot of things going on that make your membership valuable to you too as well.
Well, Rebecca, it's always been a pleasure, and I'm especially thrilled to be able to have you on to allow you to crow a victory. And so your record is 2-0. That's a pretty good one. And
I know, right?
The stakes. And
I win every lawsuit that I file, so that's pretty good.
So so keeping in line with today's events, who are you rooting for in the World Series?
Oh, that's a good question. I lived in Boston for a number of years, and so I think I'm I'm a new Red Sox fan, but I think I'll be a loyal Red Sox fan.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So, Rebecca, thank you
Thanks, Bennett, for having me on.
very much, and so stay well, and we look forward to hearing more, and definitely seeing what the state of New York says in response to the petition for cert will be most interesting today. So, thank you again. Our next guest is really a remarkable young woman. She took it upon herself. She's a junior at Stetson University, which is in St. Petersburg, Florida. Took it upon herself to really address the issue of cyberbullying. And Stetson actually had a cyberbully side last year. And as you know, all eyes are on the state of Florida over the issue of cyberbullying in light of what the recent events there with the cyberbully side of a young girl, and that was made even worse by the actual actions of the alleged perpetrators who bragged about it on Facebook. And it really has horrified and appalled the nation. And we're at a point where the suicide rate for 10 to 14-year-olds has almost doubled in the last few years. And so this is a very serious problem, one that deserves attention. And so it's really, I think, heroic, I think, that this young woman has taken upon herself to dive into this problem. And she's already reached out to some very prominent people. Jane Hitchcock, who's been on our show a number of times with Halt Online Abuse, is actually working with her, and they're going to be doing programming there. So I think it's really interesting, and I'm really glad that we have her. And we're going to have her on in a sec. But I highlight the fact that this is only a junior in college, and she plans on going to law school, so I'm sure the world of cyber law will know her name far more in a few years. But for now, it's my great pleasure to bring to you Viviana Vasu from Stetson University in St. Petersburg, Florida. We're talking about cyberbullying, once again, a topic we've covered on this show a number of times, because it's on the front pages, and in light of the tragic suicide of Rebecca Sedgwick, and even the more appalling reaction to her death by her alleged tormentors. One who supposedly wrote on Facebook, "I bullied Rebecca and she killed herself," and expressing no remorse, and in fact, it was no big deal. And so that's raised a lot of discussion among the country about what is going on today online with our youth, and what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong. And we've talked a lot in the past with Jane Hitchcock, and she's one of the leading authorities in this area. In fact, a year ago we were talking with her about the Amanda Todd cyberbully side, which was almost a year to the date of the Rebecca Sedgwick's suicide. But today we're talking with Viviana Vasu, and she is a student at Stetson University in Florida, and she's actually taking the initiative and setting up a committee to deal with cyberbullying at the university level. She's the founder of an advocacy organization against cyber harassment at Stetson University. Viviana, you're with us.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for having me.
And Viviana, you're a junior at Stetson?
Yes, rising senior.
And so with a 4.0 average, I think it's definitely a promising career ahead of you for you. But what led you to form an advocacy group?
Okay, so I guess you could say this all started this summer when I went back to my country to visit my parents. They're both law professors there, and they've written so many books on this subject. And just one day casually my father said, "Hey, do you want to look over our books?" And I said, "Sure." And I mean, I was absolutely appalled by the statistics, and especially how women were affected by this subject, the damages, the cases, and I thought that there could be so much more done on this subject. So I decided to combine my passion for law, and especially, cyber law and privacy law, with this desire to just make a change even before law school. So then what I did was I contacted a lot of incoming freshmen from Stetson and my friends and asked them, hey, would you be interested in forming this organization with me? And, I was absolutely surprised to see how many of those students were affected several times by cyber harassment as well. And when I came back, there was actually, unfortunately, a case at Stetson University with a student, Teresa Thiel. She actually committed suicide because of cyber harassment. That definitely strengthened my belief in forming this organization. So I put in the paperwork, I did all the work, and here we are. So.
What has been the reaction at the university to the group?
It has been excellent. I have so much support from everybody, including the Dean of Students, the Wellness Center, who has some programs against cyberbullying. Even Stetson Law wanted to collaborate. And then a great thing that happened, actually, I also work as student editor for the marketing department, and one day Patrick Davis came to meet us. He is actually an alumni of Stetson University, and I told him about the organization because he was asking all of us about our plans, service and everything. And he said, do you actually know that I am the CEO of the Ben Cohen Stand-Up Foundation, that's against these issues? And I said, wow, what a coincidence. And he said that he actually wants to partner with me on this. And, just seeing all the support that I'm getting, and, it's wonderful. And we're actually thinking of doing a joint thing with the counseling center as well once we reach out to middle schools and high schools. So.
Now, you're in Florida, and I don't forget where the land is, but obviously, just like the rest of the nation, you must be inundated with media over the Rebecca Central, the suicide. What's the reaction like on campus there?
I gotta tell you, we have had a lot more support since that case. People are realizing that this is not just something that happens in a city or just in America. It happens everywhere, and it can affect us on a small level towards a great level. Deadly, unfortunately. And that's why I am so happy that I formed this organization, because it's not just the people that are passionate about law and sociology and everything. It's just something that really needs to be done, and it needs to be done on this level. Not just with wonderful leaders like you, but just at this level, so we can reach out to middle schools and, just get at the root problem of it.
In terms of when you talk to people about this issue, I imagine, particularly right now, the awareness is pretty high.
Yeah, they always ask me, well, what can we do to help? They are actually very surprised to hear that it's something that affects us so much, but at the same time, there's not so much commotion about it when it comes to, law and cases. You'll see such great, punishments in criminal law and everything, but then I feel like when I read so many cases on cyber law, I feel like it's still something that needs to be developed and worked on, and they're very concerned about this. So that's why in the future meetings and workshops that I'm organizing, half will be focused on actual real-life service towards this, and then half will be learning about the law and learning how we can be able to improve the laws that already are.
Now, it's interesting because I believe the rate of suicide among teenagers is doubling in the last 5 years. And there could be a number of reasons for it, but this seems to be a very likely reason. And so when you have a huge spike among such a vulnerable and segment, there's definitely a need to try to address it. Now, one thing I'd be interested in hearing your perspective is the extent to which there's a belief that you are either anonymous on the web, or a belief that the web is still the wild, wild west?
I would say that you're not really anonymous anymore. I mean, especially as a victim, there's so much stuff that, just people are just very out there when it comes to, Facebook and social networking and all that. And I feel like they're a lot more vulnerable because anywhere you go, especially in America, everybody's on their phone and they're always connected, which for me means they're always vulnerable to that kind of. Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, many times you'll hear, don't go out at night because this might happen. But with this particular issue, no matter where you are, no matter what time it is, you can always be a target.
Yeah, I guess for example, it's the old, don't go to this neighborhood, or make sure you lock your car door. But in this, you make a good point. You bring your attacker with you.
Yeah, exactly. And many times we do not even realize that we opened the door. So that's why the organization is especially focused on prevention. First, creating awareness, and then making sure that students and, the community in general just have the possibility of being able to just, come out in time with it, not right when they're affected or unfortunately already committed suicide.
So why this issue for you? What in particular about it makes it compelling?
Because it has to do with the cyberspace, which I've learned from reading so many articles from my parents that, just like you said, Wild West, it's harder to regulate and to control, rather than, it's just a little easier to actually obtain evidence. And we've just come such a long way when it comes to other types of law and how we find the perpetrators. But here, it's the Wild West. Sometimes you don't even know what to do, and it's kind of hard. Like, there's not so many laws on it, and then you have the issues of the fact that Facebook is public, and then kind of how do you find that person? Sometimes you find on a page, and it's something about you and you don't even know about it. So then you have to go through the process of asking Facebook to so the main reason why this issue is so important for me is because any person that has access to technology on this planet is a target towards that, and especially people my age. So. And
having the benefit or perspective of being from Europe, is the attitude or is the prevalence of this any different there in Romania, where your parents are, than you finding it is in Florida?
I think that there's a lot more discussion about it in the U.S., but I also feel that in Europe, they're trying very hard to have a lot of regulations and laws concerning it. So I feel that practical-wise, they're more concerned, but here it's just a lot more prevalent. So that's why I thought that starting something here would be a great idea, because, my parents are already doing it in Europe and helping with that. But I thought that this was really needed here.
When you say it's more prevalent here, in what way?
Especially media-wise. I also feel that, watching statistics, the way Europeans use social networking is a little more different than the way Americans use it. I guess you could say that it's kind of starting to be the same way, but in Europe, I think they're a little more private about what they do. Like, in the U.S., they're always connected to Facebook. They always have it there, and, they're always a target. Whereas in Europe, it's more of a, let's talk with friends, and they're also very careful about the friends that they add. Here, I feel like people are a little more friendly, so that can also make them more vulnerable. But I have to say, it's also becoming a big media issue in Europe, too, because there has been a case actually in Italy this summer with a girl. Very similar to Rebecca and very similar to the girl that we had here, Stetson, Teresa Thiel. So.
And Teresa Thiel at Stetson, what were the events that drove her to her suicide?
Well, I believe she was a business major here. She was a very happy, a very fun person. I know this. She's a friend of a friend, and she was just, your typical Florida girl, just full of life, and she had so many great career goals. And I know she it was actually very unexpected, which is almost always the case, and that's why it's such a huge issue. I'm not sure if somebody from Stetson did that. I kind of doubt it, but the police said that they don't really have a lot of evidence on who would have done it, but that they are sure it was cyber harassment. She was just, and then she went home, and that's where she did that. She didn't do it here at Stetson, but she just secluded herself, which is also one of the I guess you could say symptoms. Right,
the identifier, so to speak.
Yeah, the seclusion. That's also why I'm trying to create a counseling service, because that's when you're most vulnerable. You just get attacked by this cyber harassment issue, and then you just seclude yourself, and there's no more support. So.
Do you get a sense that maybe awareness of this is changing now because of these type of events?
Yes, I do feel that. I feel one big thing is that these kind of things voice what people go through, and they really value that, and they say, hey, people actually care about this issue. I've been through this, or at the very least, they know a lot of friends that have gone through this, and they really want to get involved in it. It's really a great thing.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Viviana about cyber harassment and her efforts at Stetson University after these messages.
Stay tuned for more of the Cyber Law and Business Report after this brief recess for our sponsors.
If you're constantly struggling to find more customers, revenue, or hours in the day, Infusionsoft can help you have the business you've always wanted. For over 10 years, Infusionsoft has been helping business owners just like you find the financial freedom and peace of mind you've been searching for.
I'm Scott Martineau, co-founder of Infusionsoft. If you're struggling to find more customers, more revenue, or more hours in the day, Infusionsoft is the proven solution you're looking for. Infusionsoft, the only all-in-one sales and marketing software created specifically for small businesses.
Learn more at www.infusionsoft.com/radio.
Ever wondered how you could have access to your own SEO expert, paid search specialist, or social media wizard? Looking for help with your affiliate, display media, or email marketing? Look no further than the folks at Fang Digital Marketing. Fang Digital specializes in both paid and organic search, social media, display, and mobile advertising solutions, and is staffed by industry veterans from Google, Yahoo, and one of the industry's most influential PPC experts. Fang Digital's award-winning staff stays on top of the latest in digital trends and offer tailored solutions so they can audit your progress and build a roadmap to your success. Learn more about their expanding range of full-service strategic marketing solutions at fangdigital.com. That's FANG digital.com.
The best gavel-to-gavel legal news and information on the net is right here. This is the Cyber Law and Business Report, only on webmasterradio.fm.
And we're back. We're talking to Viviana Vasu. She's a Romanian by birth and is studying at Stetson University in Florida, where she has established very uniquely an advocacy organization against cyber harassment. She's the founder and president, and we've been talking about her efforts to raise awareness about cyber harassment on campus at Stetson. So Viviana, what is where would you like to be in terms of what's a benchmark maybe, or what are some goals you'd like to achieve maybe by a year from now?
Okay, so especially regarding this organization, for this semester, I'm focusing a lot on advertising and creating a base and, just collaborating with everyone on campus. And also we are going to have a movie night, which is going to also be cultural credit. We're going to watch the movie Cyberbully. Mm-hmm. And so after the movie, I'm going to create some forms so that students can, say some details about the movie, how it changed their perspective, and, how they relate, and, how they can help. And then at the end, I am also going to bring in a psychology professor. He is actually an expert on social psychology, so he will talk about the issue and he will relate it to the movie. And then I'm also hoping to bring somebody from the counseling center to talk about this issue and, kind of how they can contact them, if they ever have trouble with this. And, I'm also going to try to work with public safety on this and everything. And then a great event that we're having next semester, and thank you very much for recommending her, Jane Hitchcock. She actually confirmed in coming to a big event that I'm organizing next semester. So I told her that, she will be talking about, just the general issues, some statistics, some cases from her books, and how we can get involved with her organization and similar ones.
And Jane's actually a great resource, and she has a website called haltabuse.org, and they compile, it is not, what's the best way to say it? It's not statistically definitive, but they have people report to them regularly their experiences with cyber harassment, and so they actually compile statistics each year based on the reports they get. And so it's really a good resource to kind of get a snapshot of where we are in cyber harassment is going to her. And, she's a wealth of information anyway. As our listeners know, she's been on the show at least 3 or 4 times. But so in terms of raising awareness, what do you see as the biggest challenge?
It is a sore subject for some people, especially the ones that have been greatly affected. I think that for some it is hard to come out with it, and unfortunately they sometimes prefer to just repress it, rather than come out with it, and, but I think that one big thing is to actually create such an organization and, collaborate with similar ones, just like you said with Jane Hitchcock, because she's not just an active advocate for this, but she's a wealth of information. And those are 2 things that I actually wanted to combine in my organization, and this is really going to help, raise awareness. So like I said, just people, I think they're very vulnerable to the subject still. And, there's also always this thing with, how can we possibly make a difference? And, because it is a global issue, and there's always this doubt of, well, how can I make a difference? How can an organization make a difference, among the sea of, cases and suicides? But, I really do believe in one step at a time. So, one thing that I'm doing is I'm collaborating with a lot of bases so that I can reach out to a lot of people. And, I'm also going out to big names just like you and Jane Hitchcock and then the Ben Cohen Stand Up Foundation, because when people see that you're actually bringing the top leaders, they trust that person. Just, like you learn for law school about persuasion skills, you learn about e-sales, credibility. So that's what I'm trying to bring on campus. I'm trying to say, look, these people are leaders and they're saying this is a big issue and this is how you can help. So that's how you create trust.
Now, you're the leader of a 9/11 Never Forget project. Tell me about that.
Yes, I was the public relations chief officer of the student government back in California when I was getting my paralegal studies degree. And so what we did was, for the 9/11, we all collaborated on campus, and, I was one of the leaders, to put one flag for each life that was lost in that tragic event, on campus. And it was right in front of the library because everybody goes there, and it was a great event because senators, yes, that was a lot of flags, unfortunately, and there was a lot of senators that came, and the governor congratulated us, and I also got a recognition certificate for that. It was just a great event, and we kept those flags and everything for 3 days, so that we made sure that everybody could come with their families and it was a very interesting and, unfortunately sad experience because amongst us there were 2 people that actually had relatives or friends die in that. So, I was really proud that even, as somebody that didn't experience that, wasn't even in America when that happened, I could, make a difference and keep this tradition of always remembering those people.
Well, that's very good. I mean, it's still an open wound underneath a lot of people, and but remembrance is important. And we actually had a special episode on 9/11, and it's still very raw for a lot of people. And so, but we only have a few minutes left. Viviana, if people want to contact you about this organization, or what's the best way that they should do so?
Well, we have a Facebook page. It's under Advocacy Organization Against Cyber Harassment. We also have a website page called oath.weebly.com. Oath is actually our acronym. And also they can contact me by email. It's at 2Vs, VVASIU @stetson.edu.
Well, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, and I commend you for the leadership you've shown, and hopefully you can make a difference there in Stetson, and I imagine other universities are going to be looking to what you're doing as a model for their own projects. So best of luck to you at Stetson, and let us know how we can help, and thanks again for joining us. And that was Viviana. It was great having her. Next week, we'll be broadcasting live from the ISSA SoCal Security Symposium in Long Beach. Go Red Sox and strong. Look at our blog post, remembering Tony C. And how St. Louis is kind to Boston fans. But in any event, it's a pleasure listening with you today. And but remember, next week, we will be live at the ISSA SoCal Security Symposium with top names, and we'll be talking about internet security with some of the largest public security experts. And so join us next week live from Long Beach.
This has been a presentation of WebmasterRadio.fm, the world's largest business-to-business radio and podcast network. We welcome you to sample past episodes of this program, as well as our complete library of programs, on demand or on the air via our 24/7 live audio stream at www.webmasterradio.fm. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of WebmasterRadio.fm's management or sponsors. Any rebroadcast or redistribution without authorized consent of WebmasterRadio.fm is